What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Minecraft Unabridged, and today I got a really techy and really fun episode for you guys. I'm really excited to get started. So we're going to be doing Applied Energistics 2 today, which is awesome. Love that mod. So we haven't done it yet because I have not had the resources necessary to set up the system. But if we look at my storage system right now, my lame storage system that will be completely ruined by the end of this episode, we can see the remnants of my pretty much 3-hour crafting and gathering session that I did to prep for this episode. So we can see we got a good amount of nether quartz still in here, but the Certus quartz is running a little low, same with the Fluix crystals. But that is perfectly fine because, like I said, not only was it a gathering session, but it was also a crafting session, which is what is in this pretty little iron chest right here. So if we look in here, we see we got all this nice Applied Energistics 2 stuff. So beautiful. But we're going to be using all the stuff that's on the left over here. The stuff on the right is just kind of extra stuff that eventually I will use, or it was used in the crafting process, but we're not going to need it for today. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff to do today. So we need to start pulling this stuff out. The one thing that we don't need to take out are these 4K storage cells, just because we can throw them in later, but we actually don't have enough inventory room right now to do that. So we can pull a couple out, but for now we're gonna only take out what's necessary. So to start out, we are going to be doing the initial importing into our system, which is actually going to require a good amount of stuff. So we're going to import from two things, our tesseract and our ender chest. Now, I haven't used the ender chests up until now, but one little trick that people do is they have an ender pouch in their inventory connected to an ender chest that is pulled into their system. So if they ever have anything in their inventory they just want to dump in there because it's cluttering up their inventory, they can do that, which is really nice because obviously you guys know that I always have a messy inventory, so I can just dump everything into my ME system and just forget about it and leave it messy in there, and that'll be fine because no one will actually know it's messy because, yeah, it's an ME system, so that's good. So we're going to start over in this area. This is actually where everything for our ME system is going to go, which is why it's nice and cleared out. But we're going to put our tesseract down. This one is set to same frequency, but I changed the name. It's just Rage right now because it's no longer just power. This is our main channel, so everything is going to get sent there. Items, fluids, power, all that stuff. So we're going to hook that up, and then we got to hook up the energy acceptor just so that the power is actually able to be used by Applied Energistics 2. And then we're going to hook these up with cable. Now we need to use an interface on this to hook it up so it's actually pulling items out. So we can just shift click that right on there. Uses up one channel. The one thing I want to point out today before we actually get too far into this is we're only going to be using 8 channels. So we only need, one color of cable. We don't need dense cable. We don't need ME controllers. We don't need any of that, which is why today's setup is actually pretty simple, really. Eventually I will do controllers and all that and dense cables and 32 channels and, P2P tunnels or whatever they're called, but we don't need those right now. We're fine with just 8 channels. So the next thing we're going to have to hook up is the ender chest, and we're going to have to use an import bus instead of an interface on this one. Now the import bus is going to be really, really slow. That's because there's no acceleration cards in here. I could throw these 2 in there. I guess actually we'll throw these 2 cards in there for now, so it'll be a little bit faster, but it's not really crucial that things get pulled out of there really fast. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm going to dump so many items in here all at once to get thrown back in my system. Like, that's not going to happen. The items that will pretty much all be going into our system will be coming from the tesseract, so this will probably just have miscellaneous things like, oh my gosh, I have random seeds in my inventory or something, and those will get thrown in there. So eventually I will go make like a stack of acceleration cards for this whole setup, but for now it's fine. So then we're going to wire this over with the smart cable. Also, smart cable, just a little note, is so nice because you can actually see the channels. Obviously we can look at Whaler right now, 2 of 8, but it actually is a nice visual display of the channels. So let's get right up in our face, you got 2 channels there. Yeah, if you guys didn't know that, you probably already did, but just in case you didn't. So now what the plan is to actually put the ME drive and have the crafting terminal and pattern terminal right here in the center of the room. Eventually I am going to cover up all the wiring and stuff back here with a nice wall that runs right along here, connecting these 2 oak wood kind of beams, I guess you'd call them. But it'll connect those 2, and then we want everything to be flush with that wall. So one thing, we want the crafting terminal to be at eye level because you're not going to use the pattern terminal as much, so that can just go right up here. So we are going to use this a little bit, but you're not going to be using it nearly as much as the crafting terminal, which we're going to have to access like all the time. So now it should be getting power and all this stuff is hooked up. So really all we need to do right now is throw in some of these storage cells. Now our 64K one, you can see it already has stuff in it because I was messing around with this just to make sure it was all going to work nice and well together. So if we look in here, you can see it's got, just some random stuff, some gold, redstone, some of the stuff for crafting processors and things, but it also has stuff from our farm, which should actually be getting put in here as we speak if it's getting harvested, because of the ME interface pulling from the tesseract. So this is pretty much just a beginner storage setup right here, but we are going to put the rest of these 4K storage cells in there. Storage is pretty weak right now, gotta say, but eventually I will upgrade it so it's a bunch of 64Ks. But the one thing I wanted to point out to you guys is we have in this pack the extra cells mod, and this is insane. I'm sure Nonsanity will put this to good use, but if we take a look, you can see 64K storage is really nice. This one is 16,384K storage component, which can be made into a storage cell. So that is absolutely insane. I'm sitting here with my 64K storage cell and I'm like, wow, that took forever. But this would take an atrocious amount of time to make. Look at this. 3 of these, which takes 3 of these, which takes 3 of these, which then takes 3 of these 64Ks, which is crazy. So I don't know if we'll ever get to use that, but maybe that'll just be like a long-term goal of ours, is to use one of those just so that we can feel special. But yeah, so we actually need to get into the automatic crafting portion of this, because that is why we're doing all of this. It's to make it easier to expand our ME system. So eventually we will have the ME controller and the dense cables and all that, but you use a lot of the different processors for that. And so by making this and setting up an automatic advanced inscriber setup for each of the processors, it will make it a lot easier for me, because I can just go craft 64 of each, and then we can go on a crafting spree and we can just shift click all the recipes in here and do all that, and it'll be really nice, which is a lot nicer than having to pull things out of our storage module tablet and put them in our inventory and then craft them and then do that over and over and over again. So this should save us some time. So what we need to do is get the iron chest right here and hook it up right here with an ME interface. Now eventually you could make this a better chest, but I don't think you will ever use up all this space. You actually could probably have a regular Minecraft chest and you'd be fine, but for now we'll just use the iron chest because, hey, it kind of matches. Yeah, eventually I should probably color this, but for now it's just kind of bleh, it's gray. The whole system is just kind of gray and purple. But the reason we use this chest is because when I've set up inscribers in the past, automatic inscribers, they haven't been advanced inscribers, just regular ones, and they've taken up a lot more channels than this. This only takes up 2 channels to get 9 advanced inscribers hooked up and automated, so that is really nice. So we have the interface to put all the items in there that we need, and then we're going to need an import bus hooked up. We can hook it up to the top for now. It could be hooked up to the top or bottom, it doesn't really matter, but we're going to hook that up, and that uses the 2nd channel, and those are the only channels we're going to use for this. And so essentially what we're going to do is go into the pattern terminal. I already have the pattern set, it's right here. But what we're going to do is make a pattern for whatever you want to make. Today we're going to be doing the logic processor. We're only going to be doing one setup, so all of them are the same for the calculation or the engineering. Same as the logic, you just need, pure Certus or diamond instead of gold, and you have to change up the patterns or the recipes a little bit. You have to change up the different presses that you're going to have, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Same as this thing. So essentially you're going to put the blank pattern in here, put whatever you're going to get in this column of 3. You need to change it to processing pattern because it's not just a regular crafting pattern. Like if we were to take this out and go to this, you can see that it's not a regular crafting pattern. It's not going to be made in an actual grid, so it's going to be processing pattern. And we have in there the gold, silicone, and redstone. So essentially what this is going to say is if we request one of these logic processors, it's going to send 1 piece of gold, 1 piece of silicone, and 1 piece of redstone per processor to wherever we have this pattern. And we're going to put this pattern in this ME interface. So essentially when we request one of these, it's just going to shoot whatever we requested times the number that we requested over into this chest. And then what we're going to do is pull everything out of that chest and put it into these advanced inscribers. So we are actually going to be using Ender.io, one of my favorite mods next to Applied Energistics, to put the items in there correctly without using up a bunch of channels. So we're going to hook up a bunch of item conduits to the chest and hook up one to each of these, and now really all we have to do is change the settings on these and filter things out, and we're good to go. But before we do that, we need to use these ME conduits from Ender.io to get these power, and the reason we're using these is you can get them powered different ways, but by using these we can pretty much minimize the amount of space that we use to hook this up, so they can take up the same block, and then we can just hook these up over here and we are good to go. So these should be getting power now. You see they should all be at 5,000, sleeping apparently because they're not doing anything. That's kind of weird that they call it sleeping, but whatever. So now we need to actually start hooking up these item conduits or changing the settings. So you're going to need a bunch of basic item filters. You're going to need 9 total when you actually make the entire system, but for now we're doing only 1/3 of the system, so of course we only have 3 of them. So the top one is going to be for making the actual circuit itself. So we need to find the correct filter. First we got to set these to in and out. Each one is going to be in and out, and the insert, you have to find the right filter. So we got lucky on the first try. We need the gold to go in here, and then we need to take the advanced or the inscriber logic press and put it in the advanced inscriber. So now whenever there's gold in this chest, as we set this to in and out and always active, essentially what that's going to do is it's going to pull everything in this chest out, assuming there's somewhere for it to go. And so if there's gold in the chest, we have it so that the gold can go in the top one. So all the gold will go in here. It'll get made into the logic press or the logic circuit, and then it will get pulled out. So we need to set this to always active, so whenever there's anything in here that can get pulled out, it will get pulled out. So everything that finishes in here will get pulled out. Now in this one, I actually think we need to go back and grab one of these 3 silicone presses and put that in here. And then obviously we got to do the same thing so that only silicone will go in here. Let's see if we're going to get lucky again. So in and out. Oh man, we got lucky again. Awesome. Okay. So unfortunately with these you can't shift to see what's in them. So we got lucky twice. And of course the third one is going to be right then too. So we're 3 for 3 on these. But then we need to send this one so that it is always active again. So when there's silicone in this chest, it'll put it in here. And when it's done, it'll pull it out. And then the last one, like I said, we're going to have to set it to in and out again. And this filter is going to be one that actually uses 3. So we have the printed logic circuit, we have the regular redstone, and the printed silicone. Now, this is all going to tie back into the reason that we actually have advanced inscribers, and that is because in these, when things get put in here automatically, it doesn't matter what side they go on, it'll automatically put them so the redstone is always in this one right here. Now, if anything else were to get put in here, it would not work. You can't put the logic circuit in here, you can't put the silicone in here, it needs to be redstone in the center. Now if you had a regular inscriber and tried to do this exact same setup, it would not work because it could put other stuff in this center one because of the side you're inputting it on. But that is why we upgrade to advanced inscribers. They can also hold more than just one item at the same time, so it's a lot nicer. But that's just why if you're doing inscribers, not advanced inscribers, and you're having issues, that is why, assuming it is that issue. So this one should be all good, and I believe let's just make sure we set this one to always active. Now I think this should be good to go. The only thing we need to do is actually get one of these logic processors, pull that out, and use it on this import bus right here. Now eventually you will have to add upgrades because the import bus can only hold one thing in the very center. You need to add an upgrade so that it can hold more, and when you put in one upgrade card, it will make it so it can hold 5 things. You're only going to need 3, 1 for each processor, and that's pretty much the only other thing you're actually going to need to do, along with making the rest of the inscribers, making the rest of the patterns, and the rest of the filters to actually get this set up correctly. So this can get put back in here, and essentially what that's going to do is say, you know, when you have all the different redstone and gold and silicone in here, this thing could automatically pull it out, assuming it's trying to pull it out on the correct tick and there's actually stuff in there to pull out. And that would cause a massive backup because of the 1K crafting storage we are going to use. So this will use up our last channel. We're going to throw it down right here. And essentially this allows it to do automatic crafting. Without this, you wouldn't be able to automatically craft stuff. But what happens is, pretty much we'll walk through the whole step right now. So you come over here and you're going to request to craft one of these. And I actually don't have silicone in here right now to craft because I already have 52 printed silicone. But essentially, you'll request it, and then it'll store that request in here. So crafting status, this first box will be filled with your request. So it'll be like crafting 10 logic processors. Now, that'll stay there until it's done crafting all of them, and this system registers getting 10 back. So say you have 10 silicone in here. This thing could actually pull out one of those silicone and put it back in your system instead of having it get made into the pressed silicone or printed silicone. That would cause an entire backup because then you would not have enough to make 10 full logic processors, and then you'd have to actually manually come in here, cancel it, and you wouldn't get the exact amount you requested in your crafting terminal. So it's important that you make it so it can only pull out the final thing. For every single craft you have, it needs to only be able to pull out the final processor. So if you don't do that, you could get errors in your system or issues where it won't actually give you the full amount you requested. But now everything should be good. And I guess we don't actually have any silicone in here, unfortunately. So what we can do is, let me see if I have any clay left over. Actually, maybe the clay would be in here. Yep, okay, so we got some clay left over. So we're going to grab some silicone at the last minute so I can show you this working. Let's throw this in here. Hopefully we get some silicone. No, we actually don't want to cook this down so it's never active. There we go, we got some silicone, nice. So we will throw this in there, and by the way, I know we don't have any flint, we don't have anything in here to multiply this, but that is fine. So we got the silicone in there. So now we can request 6 because we've got more than enough gold, more than enough redstone. So I'm going to pull all these out just to click craft easily. I know there's another button you could click to get a craft even when you already have 24 in there, but whatever. So we can make 6, we'll just do 5. So we request 5 of these next, and you can see it is using 65 bytes out of the, we have a pretty, I think it's just a 1K crafting storage. Eventually you can upgrade that and make different crafting CPUs with co-processors and all that, which you can see down here. But right now we only need this for our automatic setup. And when you're flipping through this, one thing, it can automatically set it to 1, or you can manually set it, but these are the same right here because we only have 1. It doesn't really matter. So you can see it tells us we have everything available. It would tell you if you had something missing. It has 5 to craft, so if we click start, it'll take all that stuff out of there, put it in here. It gets sucked out really fast into these, which are now working. And if we look down here, you can see it says crafting 5, like I said. Now, if it weren't not to get 5 back, this would just sit there and you'd have to cancel it manually. But you can see now it's only crafting 4, and then it'll go to 3, and then 2, and then 1, and then be done. And so these will all finish, and then it'll get put down here. You can see the redstone is in the correct slot like I was talking about earlier. They all get put in there, made into these. And eventually I will put 5 acceleration cards in each one, so it's pretty much instantaneous. But that doesn't really matter right now because, I mean, we just made 5. Look at how fast that was. I mean, if you were just to say, I want 64, and leave it there for maybe like 2 minutes, you'd get 64 back. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Off camera, I will go back through. I will make the other 6 of these advanced inscribers, hook them up, set all that up. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, but in the description, I'm going to link Nonsanity's phenomenal tutorials that pretty much helped me do this whole thing. This is his setup, pretty much, or he showed me this setup. I don't know if he came up with the setup, but he's the person I learned it from. But he has like 2 hours of tutorials. They're 3 videos. One's an hour, one's 25 minutes, and one's 35 on storage, channels, and automatic crafting. So you can go watch those, and thank you to him for helping me out with this. But like I said, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, feel free to give it a like. I will do some work off camera to get the system a little bit better so it's not totally beginner, so we're not using up all the possible channels and everything. We get some controllers in here, but that will be all done off camera, and then we can admire it next episode. But yeah, guys, I will talk to you guys later. So adios.